other Russian tankers to destroy armored vehicles. It is rare, but occasionally happens, that the anti-tank positions of the Ukrainians and Russians are against each other, as in this situation. It's a duel. This footage shows electronic warfare R-934 near Svitlodarsk, Donetsk region. The equipment was destroyed with the help of American HIMARS MLRS. Shark UAV plus HIMARS MLRS is a deadly combination. Let's take a look at a practical example. First, the drone tracks down future victims. When it arrives at the coordinates are transmitted to the HIMARS, which in turn fires a missile at each target. As a result, the Pion, Grad, and Masta S are destroyed. The author of the video signed these strikes as HIMARS strikes on the electronic warfare R-934 Borisoglepsk 2 complex near Donetsk. I'm not sure that these are HIMARS. It kind of looks more like ordinary artillery, but it doesn't change the results. The complex completely destroyed. A shark hits a Russian fuel tank and several other Russian vehicles. The first artillery strike spooked the Russians, and one of the vehicles left the position. A little later, a passenger car arrived at the position to evacuate the unlucky one. Russian generals are competing to see who can destroy more of their army's personnel and equipment. This entire Russian offensive is pure madness. The small village of Krasnohorivka. 2 Russian tanks are riding in the vanguard. The AFV that is moving behind them has already been hit by the Ukrainians. The Russians are trapped. There is no way to break through, but to stay in the field, to be destroyed for sure. The column is turning around. Russian troops are in flight. Just watch as the soldiers abandon their vehicles, fleeing from the battlefield. This footage shows the Russians preparing and moving in for the assault. A few hours later, a Ukrainian drone captures this video. The Russian tanks are destroyed, and the assault has failed. And to completely upset the Russians, the Ukrainians launch several kamikaze drones and blow up a tank. One of such attacks near Vuhledar had such consequences. The video shows 9 armored vehicles hit. Ukrainians have found an engineering mining vehicle, UR-77. It was abandoned due to malfunctions. The Ukrainians used a kamikaze drone to destroy the engineering vehicle left behind by the Russians. One hit causes a fire, and now the fire will do the rest of the work. It's beautiful. How Ukrainians are destroying advancing Russian troops near Avdiivka. Dozens of tanks blowing up, hundreds of armored personnel carriers, and so much more. All of this you will have to see in the following videos. Avdiivka. This is where the fate of the Russian offensive today is being decided. The Russians are preparing for an assault. The Ukrainians spotted the column in time and began firing hard at it with artillery, Shark UAV, and Ukrainian artillery. This footage shows a Russian Strela 10 SAM system. Moments later, a Ukrainian artillery shell arrives and destroys the SAM. Good work. A similar situation. The Shark UAV is watching the Russian troops. At this point, the Ukrainians are identifying targets to strike. Everything is ready. The artillery begins its work. The Ukrainians are hitting the buildings where the enemy is hiding. It ends with the Russians defeated. The Ukrainians continue to please with high-quality videos using kamikaze drones. Let's take a look at this one. An armored personnel carrier loses position in the Kremina forest area. The Russians still have no idea that they are minutes away from... A miracle happens. God gives the Russians a second chance, because the drone gets stuck in the brushwood and does not explode. Those who are smarter immediately begin to jump out of the armored vehicle. When the technique stops, the second drone arrives and finishes the task. To this MTLB, the polite Ukrainians hinted,
¿Podemos salir al área o qué?
You don't belong here. It's about to be bada boom. A kamikaze drone helped a Russian T-90 split it into molecules. A Russian tank with an anti-mine trawl It's hard to say what stopped it specifically, but
No
it
está
was
morro
finished
ahí, ¿no?
off by a kamikaze drone. A Russian tank. The inscription Zov can be seen on the turret. A kamikaze drone successfully
Entregar
hits the
lágrimas de dragón
target.
divino o dar lágrimas de dragón y las lágrimas heladas, lo que nos decía la morra, ¿no? Para hacer ese final, ¿verdad?
The drone at least deprived the armored
Ya va.
personnel carrier of its
Ya
main
lo
armament,
vamos a ver si
but
fue bueno.
probably even
La de-
destroyed the vehicle. The Russians were planning to attack Ukrainian positions, but these plans were not destined to come true. After the drone dives into the side of the armored personnel carrier, a powerful explosion is heard. This is the ammunition the Russians plan to deliver to the Ukrainian positions, together with the infantry. The Russian infantry probably made a fatal mistake. Try to relate what you see next to why I said that. Another episode of the Russian offensive. In the column moves at least 14 units of armored vehicles. One tank is sent to attack the flank. It survives an ATGM hit and then begins to flee. The Russian column continues to move despite the Ukrainian fire. They manage to hit one of the armored personnel carriers. It is now blocking the passage for the other vehicles. This slows the advance and provides an opportunity for strikes on the slow column. One of the armored vehicles continues to move and explodes on a mine. Another explosion occurs. The Russians retreat, and this is the very spot where the armored personnel carrier blocked the passage. And to completely upset the Russians, the Ukrainians use cluster munitions on the stopped vehicles. It's paying off. There are two beautiful explosions. And here, they were storing ammunition for a week of combat operations. The bottom line is that the Russians have nothing to fight with in Uglidar. The Ukrainians send the second drone and completely disable the BMP. Later, the Ukrainians finish off the vehicle with the Stugna anti-tank guided missile system. This is what another unsuccessful attempt by Russian tanks to break through in the Donetsk region looks like. After another hit on the tank, it bursts into flames like a match. The Ukrainians also destroyed other equipment and ammunition depots. This is how $20 million turns into scrap metal. This is the Panzer S-1. Its mission is to fight Ukrainian air targets near Bakhmut. The Russians decide to move the complex closer to the forest. A hit by artillery causes the machine to catch fire. Later, a detonation occurs. This is all that is left of the Panzer. Another job with high-precision shells. The Russians drove their Panzer S-1 into the range of Ukrainian artillery. Another costly loss for the Russian army. And this Russian MLRS made a beautiful boom. The drone detects the installation. It appears to be abandoned. The first bomb misses. The second falls directly on the ammunition rails and causes the shells to explode instantly. This is what a T-90M
Logro regreso del dragón.
looks like through the eyes of a tanker.
Oh, el
Surprisingly,
final
no matter
retorno se
how
llama.
good a tank is, it can be stopped by an anti-tank mine. And this is a reconnaissance battle of a group